Explain Scrum shortly. Scrum is one of the most popular agile methodologies. It is an adaptive, iterative, fast, flexible, and effective methodology designed to deliver significant value quickly and throughout a project. Scrum ensures transparency in communication and creates an environment of collaborative accountability and continuous progress. Scrum framework is structured in such a way that it supports product and service development in all types of industries and in any type of project, irrespective of its complexity. A key strength of Scrum lies in its use of cross-functional, self-organized, and empowered teams who divide their work into short, concentrated work cycles called sprints. The Scrum cycle begins with a stakeholder meeting during which the project vision is created. The product owner then develops a prioritized product backlog, which contains a prioritized list of business and project requirements written in the form of user stories. Each sprint begins with a sprint planning meeting during which high priority user stories are considered for inclusion in the sprint. A sprint generally lasts between 1 to 4 weeks and involves the Scrum team working to create potentially shippable deliverables, a product increment. During the sprint, shortly, highly focused daily stand-up meetings are conducted where team members discuss daily progress. Towards the end of the sprint, a sprint review meeting is held during which the product owner and relevant stakeholders are provided a demonstration of the deliverables. The product owner accepts the deliverables only if they meet the defined user acceptance criteria. The sprint cycle ends with a retrospective sprint meeting where the team discusses ways to improve processes and performance as they move forward into the subsequent sprint. What is Scrum? Scrum, in short, is a lightweight agile framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. What are the 5 Scrum values? Courage. Scrum teams must have the guts to be genuine, upfront, and honest about the project's progress and any bottlenecks they encounter, both with themselves as well as with stakeholders. Members of the team must also have the bravery to seek assistance when needed, attempt new techniques or procedures that they are unfamiliar with, and respectfully disagree and engage in open debate. Scrum Masters, like Respect, can first and foremost promote courage by displaying it. To avoid mid-sprint adjustments of our scope creep, the Scrum Master must have the confidence to stand up to stakeholders and product owners. Secondly, focus. Each member of the team must remain focused on the work at hand as well as how it affects the sprint goal in order to get the most out of each sprint. Scrum Masters might limit the number of tasks or priorities assigned to each team member throughout sprints to help them stay focused. Individuals can also stay focused on their assigned work by encouraging full team participation in daily Scrum meetings. Thirdly, commitment. Scrum teams must be able to function as a team to accomplish a common goal. This entails putting faith in one another to complete their jobs and deliver to the best of their abilities. It will only occur if each team member is completely dedicated to the project and the team. Scrum Masters and team leaders can aid commitment by facilitating good sprint preparation and shielding teams from mid-sprint scope changes and undue product owner pressure. Fourthly, respect. Respect in a Scrum team implies understanding that no single individual or their contribution is more valuable than other. Respect all entail putting your faith in your co-workers to complete their jobs, listening to and considering their suggestions, and praising their achievements. Scrum Master may assist their teams to develop regard for each other by exhibiting respect for the product owner, stakeholders, and the team members. Finally, openness. Each member of the team must be absolutely truthful about their personal progress in order for the Scrum team to accomplish the maximum progress in the quickest period possible. The daily Scrum meeting's goal is to identify and solve problems that won't happen if team members are not honest about any problems they are facing. Team members must also be willing to collaborate with one another and see each other as vital contributors to the project success. Being upfront with their teams is one of the finest methods for Scrum Master to force openness. Giving honest feedback at daily Scrum meetings is not only crucial for making required adjustments, but it will also inspire team members to be honest and open in return. These are the 5 Scrum values. What is sprint in Scrum? Sprint is a regular repeated work cycle in Scrum methodology during which work is completed and made ready for review. A sprint is at the heart of Scrum. It is a 2 weeks or 1 month period in which a potentially releasable product increment is generated. Following the conclusion of the preceding sprint, a new sprint begins. It breaks down large, difficult undertakings into manageable, smaller tasks. It helps teams provide high quality work faster and more frequently, making projects easier to manage. Sprints provide them with more flexibility in adapting to changes. Sprint planning, daily scrums, development work, sprint review, and sprint retrospective are all part of a sprint. The work to be done in the sprint is planned collectively by the Scrum team during sprint planning. The daily Scrum meeting is a 15-minute time-boxed event in which the Scrum team synchronizes efforts and creates a strategy for the following day. At the end of each sprint, a sprint review is held to review the increment and, if necessary, make modifications to the product backlog. After the sprint review and before the following sprint planning, there is a sprint retrospective. The Scrum team will inspect itself and prepare a plan for changes to be implemented during the next sprint during this sprint retrospective meeting. What is the ideal duration for a sprint? Usually the duration for a Scrum sprint depends upon the size of the project and the number of people working on it. The duration of a sprint is about 2 to 4 weeks in general. I have generally worked with 2-week sprints since it is more suitable for my team. Shorter the duration of the sprint, the risk is also reduced accordingly. This is very important for the product owner. At the same time, if you keep the sprint too shorter, you will end up spending more time in Scrum events and meetings. What is a user story in Scrum? A user story is a tool used in Agile software development that represents a small piece of business value that a team can deliver in a sprint. Basically, it creates a simplified description of a user's requirement. A good user story has who the user is as a type of user, what is required. I want this and this. So why are we building it and what value it brings for the user? So that you should have the list down the benefits. So for example, a user story in case of a person's online purchase, he might write, as a customer, I want to shop online using mobile app so that I don't need to visit the local market. This is a very good example.